lot of different sizes of top waters. And for me, the calmer it is, the more I tend to want to go small. As it gets rough, I go big, and when it gets real rough, I find the biggest thing I can stick out here, like a super spook or something like that. You know, something big, loud, noisy, something that'll attract them. I'll even go to something I'm getting ready to start making, a popping cork, and I found a way to make some real loud ones, and they work real good in real rough water. It's something I picked up from when I was in Louisiana last year and brought it back up here. But like I say, the smaller, the calmer it is, the smaller you go. You'll go down to the mirror mullets, as I call them, by Mirror Lure, and they make a real small one, and they make a little bigger one. Can you get me that?
Yeah, I'm gonna get the little mirror.
Yeah, but get me that Yozuri too, Joe. But that's kind of how I judge things. When it's a normal day, probably what I'll throw, like, more than anything else, that's the mirror mullet and the standard size. They make one size down from that too. And each one has a little different rattle. I don't think I'm stop that so you can hear it. And sometimes it's the rattle that makes it work, but the motion's what attracts it to them, the noise, the rattle. Sometimes that's what makes them eat it. Today they would not eat a top water, in a standard top water. The guys were throwing the Rappalos at them. They got a nice sound to them. They come up, blow up on them, and go away. Come up, blow up on them, and go away. A lot of fish, but they just wouldn't commit to anything. Sometimes you can change the hook, and you can put that drop-down hook on there, and that helps, but I don't have time for all that. It's just added expense for doing stuff. If they aren't going to eat that, then what I'll tend to do when they're like that is I'll take a worm hook and get whoever's with me when it blows up to drop a worm hook in there, or a gold spoon right next to where the top water is, and you generally get a hook up doing that way. That's what worked today. And but anything like that, you can actually get a what is it, creek? What's the garlic smelling ones? Something creek. But anyway, they're made out of virgin rubber, and you can put it on a weightless worm hook, and they'll actually float for you. You can keep them right on the surface, and they'll dart back and forth and float. And the drum really like them. They like that garlic smell a lot too.
Rage made something like that a while back too.
Deep Creek lures, that's what it is, Deep Creek. But they make a real garlicky smelling one out of virgin rubber, and it floats, and stuff. And I like that a lot. Other than the smell of garlic, it kind of makes my eyes water sometimes. But that's kind of it for doing that. The big thing with the top waters, especially the Zara spooks, the mirror lures, and the Rappalos, is you walk them like a dog. And it's kind of like having to learn how to pat your head and rub your belly at the same time. It's a lot of tap and a little reel. And the more you get that tap down, and people want to pull it, and that's not how it works. It's tap, 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 and you get a cadence going. And sometimes they don't like the speed you're pulling it at, and so you can speed it up or slow it down. And sometimes I'll get fish that come up and follow it, and when they do, I'll just pat, 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 and I'll stop it. And when I stop it, they'll usually dive on it like that. But you got to aggravate them a little bit. Sometimes you can just be walking across the top of the water and just stop for a second and give it about a 10 count, and before you count to 10, all of a sudden he comes up and eats it, because it's just sitting there, and they can't stand, especially drum. Drum are just, they're awful when it comes to eating the top water. They don't care what time of day it is, whether it's dark or cloudy or bright, or, they're going to eat a top water. Ladyfish will do the same thing. But if you're fishing ladyfish, I prefer a clear, completely clear top water. They have great big eyes. They can find stuff real, real well. And if you put that clear top water on there, they're going to eat it. It's amazing what it'll do. And at night, it's even better. You get near the lights at the bridges and stuff, and you throw it up in the darkness, and you sit there and you just tap it coming out down current with it. As soon as it breaks the light, those ladyfish gonna dive all over it. But that clear makes all the difference in the world. You can throw everything outside there, and they'll just ignore it most of the time. The clear, they can't decide what it is. They think it's probably a shrimp, but they don't know. And there's something that just causes them to eat it. You know, they can't stand it because they can't see it, but they hear it, they feel it, they can detect the motion of it, and they're going to eat it. So when you fish ladyfish, try something real clear, just completely clear. It makes a lot of difference. One thing that people don't consider as top water are popping corks, and popping corks are a big part of what I do. Right now, speckled trout are on the popping corks real well, and this just happens to be a chartreuse head. I use just a standard lead head, looks just like this, no paint on it or anything else. I actually think it works a little better than the painted heads a lot of times. But you know, I'm using a real loud popping cork. This is one I make, and it just works real well, and I'm not scared to pop it. And when I pop it, it's like pow, 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 and then I let it sit. And you even put a drop down on here. You can run one about this deep, and you can run another one about halfway up. And the drum will hit it. Sometimes you'll get a double header with the trout on it. But it really attracts a lot of stuff. The ladyfish, especially with this Christmas tree grub on a standard lead head with no paint on it, they'll come up and annihilate it. And they just love it.
Do you find your strikes when pop? And I've struggled with the pop cork. I don't do well, and I don't understand how often, because you got a quarter ounce lead head on that, so when you pop it straightens out pretty quick.
Yeah.
Now you letting it sit there? They hitting it when the lure's sitting like that, you think?
I'll let it sit right there. Drum are the same way. There again, it's a Louisiana trick that I learned years ago. And they just don't care whether it's sitting or anything else. I like a curly tail on it because it always moves.
Better than a paddle tail?
Oh yeah, much better than a paddle tail. The curly tail moves all the time. So even though it's sitting there, if there's any current, it's still got motion to it. It's still moving.
How about a shrimp? Like a DOA shrimp or a storm shrimp?
I'm going to go with what you're seeing right there, 90% of the time. The DOA shrimp, they work, but I like something a little different than that. During the wintertime, when it gets real clear, I'll get a blue water candy shrimp in that color right there, and use it a lot. And that color, if you're not using it, y'all are missing out, because the trout are eating it up right now. The other day before yesterday, every day runs together now. Day before yesterday, we couldn't get them to eat a live bait. I put on lead heads and those Christmas tree grubs right there. Flounder ate it, drum ate it, and I think we wound up with 12 drum. And
are you fishing north of Topsail, or are you fishing Topsail?
I'm fishing everything from Ballhead Island to Swansboro. How about that?
So you narrowed it down.
East of 7.
I gave you an 80-mile stretch, and that's exactly what I do. Is I fish from Ballhead Island to Swansboro.
What was the name of
He's
that
going to
creek?
teach you some tricks. But he's
East
not
of
gonna tell you where to
17?
fish.
East of 17.
East of 17. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
But yeah,
6 drops.
no, you can't complain with 6 trout. If you want trout right now, they are wearing that out, that color right there. Catch 2019 color, they're wearing it out. That's the other one they're liking a lot right now too. It's an 18 and broken glass.
I've
That's, both of those will catch 2,000.
I've been beating them up. I was using a Zara Spook this morning as a calm on top. And
Top water's been good here lately.
I like the X-Wrap greenback
Mhm.
for lead bait.
As far as colors of top water goes, pick a color that you can see. Everybody just oohs and ahs over 808s, especially in dirty water, and they might see that a little bit better. But if you go outside and you hold any of these up to the sun and look at it, it's black. And that's what they're gonna see is black. So what I tell people is buy a color that you can see. That's one of my favorite colors right there. It's they call it a chartreuse. It looks more yellow to me. And I use the old redhead with the white body a lot because some days I can see it better. But it's whatever you can see the best that you know you're working the lure right and it's not fouled or anything like that, because you know everything gets fouled. All my top water stuff I tie with a loop knot, and I tie a itty bitty loop knot. I have a way to tie a loop knot and make it real small so it doesn't foul in the loop a lot. The hooks don't come up and catch it. There are times when it's real rough that I'll actually go up to a 40, even 50-pound leader, short piece, yay big, and that keeps it from wanting to foul. And there again, I put it on with a loop knot, but it still keeps it from fouling so much because it's stiff, it's hard, it's not working. I use wire when the bluefish are running in the spring. When we get those big 12, 15-pound bluefish that come in here, they can't stand top water. They got
How
it.
long a wire do you use?
Do what?
How long a wire leader do you use?
Trace about yay big, number 9. And just haywire twist both ends of
Do you
that.
still walk pretty good with that?
Walks real well with it
Okay.
because it's a loop. But the big thing you got to watch for is any kink that gets in it, because if it kinks, it's going to break and it's going to be gone. Your feeling's going to be hurt. At least mine are. You know, I can't stand seeing $8 fly out the window or $9 fly out the window. But that's kind of the whole thing about it. The trout part of it, and I'll talk about this just because we're talking top water. If you get trout and they come up and you get a hit on the way in, that's a single trout. There's not many trout there. You might have a hit every other time you throw out or every 4 or 5 times you throw out, and that's single trout. That's not a big thing of trout. When you are reeling in and you get like boom, 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 and it stops and you move it 3 or 4 feet and you get another boom, boom of trout coming up trying to eat it, then you are in a school of fish. A trout is a lazy fish. He's gonna hit it maybe twice, 3 times at the most, and if you don't catch it, he's going away. He's gonna spend his time somewhere else. So anytime you're in a big school of trout, you're gonna get a lot of multiple hits. So if you're only getting single hits periodically, it's just single fish floating around. I say single fish, it may be 2 or 3 fish, but you're not in a school of fish. You know, you're better off going somewhere and looking for that knot of fish, because the more hits you get, the more you're gonna get. Right now, the river should be on fire. Cape Fear River should be on fire with speckled trout. It's that time of year for it.
How about water depth?
For trout, I'll throw top water as much as 9 foot of water, because trout like to suspend a lot. They're not just sitting on the bottom like drum tend to sit on the bottom. With drum, 4 foot of water, 5 at the most. They're not going to be called up real easy if they're sitting on the bottom in 5 feet of water. They're going to want to sit there. When you get 18 inches of water, that's perfect for it. You know, a trout likes at least 5 to 6 feet. That's their comfort zone. And a trout's going to be in that kind of water depth and anywhere where it'll roll off. Early this spring, the drum were all right on the edge where it rolled off on the waterway. We were throwing out the waterway and bringing it up the edge, and as soon as it came up the edge, those drums were sitting on that edge and they were just coming up and grabbing hold of it. It was really nice. But yeah, typically 5 foot of water for top water is all I'm going to do. Nice thing about the drum is they're going to hit it regardless of what time of day it is. They don't care. Trout are more of a morning, late afternoon top water fish, but drum will hit it anytime it comes across their head. And you know, if you want to use a little procure on the back of it, that's not going to hurt anything either. Trout fishing, I tend to stay away from scents. I don't think it works as good as non-scented baits.
Even on your grub,
Yeah,
even on your plastic.
yep, especially my plastics. And anything that you're going to use tomorrow with trout fishing and you put a scent on it, you need to get that scent off of it when you get home. Because I think they smell it and it's stale to them. I don't think they like the way it smells the next day. And I've seen a lot of baits that I've tried stuff like that with, and they just kind of ignore it, you know. And I'll go out to the shop and get a rag, and spray them with WD-40 and clean it all off, because WD-40 cuts it off. The other thing you can use is Dawn. Dawn will cut it off in a heartbeat and leave it completely neutral smelling. By the way, for those of us that have dogs, I found out that Dawn kills fleas. So you can wash your dog with Dawn and it will kill the fleas on the dog. Just a little
Use
bit
the
of,
antibacterial.
it's an enzyme eater, and it just disturbs the chemistry of the flea. That came from a Westminster dog show judge that I got.
Dawn dog from now on.
What do you think about the Z-Man scented baits like that?
Z-Man are great, but I won't give you 2 cents with one if I'm going to put it on a lead hit, because it's going to wear out in the first 3 casts and it's going to slide down every time you cast it. And you go to jig it and it's going to.
You ever use Super?
I'm going to go get a regular old grub just like that, and I'll go toe to toe with your Z-Man any day you want to go toe to toe. Just let me know. That's just
No,
me.
I've experienced exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I saw on one of the fishing shows on TV, guy takes a little bit of super glue and before he mashes it
Yeah.
up.
And it keeps it on there,
Yeah.
you know, but why bother, man? I just
You said you like the lead heads with just no markings.
yeah, just nothing on them. I use a lot of saltwater candy stuff, blue water candy stuff, and that's one of Jody's right there, and it's sharp, it's good,
Yeah, I've used
and
those before.
it holds the grub on it real well.
I was just curious about the eyes. You know, some of these newer ones got big, flashy eyes on them and stuff like that. You don't think that's beneficial?
I don't think the fish can look at the eye of something that's going. You know, I just don't think they can. You know, can you read the license plate going down the road of the car in front of you most of the time? Still trying to figure out how the police can read it. You know, they got to have something that takes a picture of it and goes, "Oh, here's his license tag." Because I can't read it. You know, I can't tell if people got seatbelts on most of the time. But you know, I don't think the eyes are that big a deal. I think the clearer the water, the more it might make a difference. But down here, I don't think it makes a whole lot of difference. It's kind of how I look at my fly fishing. I don't think I need an 8 or 10 foot leader on the end of the fly line to catch fish down here. Matter of fact, I know I don't, because I use a lot of 5 foot leaders and stuff down here, and I catch a lot of fish on fly with it. I just don't think it's that big a deal. Do I believe in fluorocarbon? Yes, I do. Do I use fluorocarbon? All the time. Fluorocarbon sinks. That's one of the reasons why I like it. You know, its molecular structure makes it sink. It doesn't float like mono does. So that's one reason why I like it a lot. And I use a lot of popping corks with live bait, and one of the things that I like is I use flounder hooks, and happen to be owners right here. I use mostly mustads, and I use the unfinished because I want it to rust real fast. So if I break one off, it'll rust out in a week and it'll come out. So I'm not real picky on them. You know, I'm also cheap when it comes to buying tackle and stuff. I don't spend a whole lot of money on a lot of stuff. But the other thing is I use a lot of short leaders. I'll actually retie this till it's about that big. And even when you're using the lid head or something like that, you can run it right up below the bottom of the cork. They're gonna find it, and they're not gonna be scared of the cork. And a drum will sit there and eat the cork.
I was gonna say the drum.
You know, most all my corks have got teeth marks in them.